Alrighty, so we are on day 2 of 3 of transformations. Yesterday we looked at equations like this, and we took out the transformations in words, we put them in ordered pairs, then we dealt with some coordinates with that. Today we're not going to take it out of the equation. We don't always have to take it out of the equation. Okay, now remember, in function notation, x is a liar. When we take everything out, we take out the truth, right? And we write down the truth. When we're using it in that notation like it is right now, we don't care if x is a liar because it's just going to take care of itself. We only need to be concerned with that when we're trying to figure out what the transformations are. Okay, so they tell us that this is p of x, and so the table gives us values for p, and I want to find h of x. Okay, now it's important to know what you were actually looking for here, because if I said I want h of 2 and you say, oh, well, h of 2 is clearly 0, that makes no sense because this is p of x, right? And I want to make a point of that because I haven't looked at the free response from that test y'all did on Friday because I'm just not in a hurry to do that. But I do know that just by glancing at them when I was taking them up, the very last part, and I don't remember what the names of the functions were, but it asked you for some information about, let's say p of x. And a lot of people gave me information about h of x, like the wrong function. You looked back up and you decided to use the graph. You didn't use what it actually said. So make sure you're paying attention to what the question is asking. You answer what it's actually asking. So if I want h of -1, all I have to do is substitute it in. And this is very important. The first step is zero work. You just substitute it in and stop. So when I want h of -1, I'm going to substitute it into h of x over there. So this gives me 3 times p of 2 times -1 minus 1. All right. I have a little sign right here. It says the process is more important than the answer. Need to make big posters that say that. On the AP exam, you get points for certain things. You can get the answer wrong and still get the majority of the points as long as you understand what the process is. If they can't tell what your process is because your stuff doesn't make any sense because you're taking shortcuts in your head when you shouldn't be, then that's just going to hurt you. Now, showing your work does not mean that you have to show every single step possible. Totally not what it means at all. You can definitely skip steps, but do not skip the first one. I'm pretty confident that you can multiply 2 times -1, but I don't want you to just write -2 in here. I mean, sometimes we do weird things like you're supposed to multiply, but for some reason your brain added and you got a 1. So if you write down 3 times p of 1 minus 1, nobody's going to know where the heck that came from. At least here, I can get some credit for understanding what's happening. Now we're done with the pre-cal. The rest is algebra. All right? Does that make sense to you? This is more important than the actual answer we get in the end. So then I can start working this out. 3 times p, well, 2 times -1 is a -2 minus 1. Can I multiply this 3 times the -2? No. Can I do -2 minus 1? No. Neither one of those things make any sense. P of -2 is a value that I can get from right here. What is P of -2? 1. So this is 3 times 1 minus 1, which is 2. Okay? This is actually very simple. As long as you don't make up math along the way and you show your process, then you're good. Okay? We okay with that? We don't have to decide what the transformations are. We don't have to think about x being a liar. We've got an equation, we've got values, we can literally just substitute them in. So then we're going to find h of 2. That's going to give us 3 times p of 2 times 2 minus 1. So that means that I have 3 times p of 4 minus 1. What is p of 4? 3. So this is 3 times 3 minus 1, which is 8. Okay. Now, I didn't write down 9 minus 1, which is fine. I always have some students that literally write every single step, and that is 100% okay. Don't ever let anybody tell you it's not, because clearly that is working for you. You just keep doing you, and it is fine. All right? You don't have to skip anything. But, I mean, skipping some steps along the way, as long as I have this and this correct, that's the main issue, or the main concern. All right, y'all find h of 0. All right, we get -4. Any questions at all? All right. So let's look at example 7. We've got the function g. It is constructed by applying 3 transformations to f in this order. A horizontal dilation by a factor of 3, a vertical dilation by a factor of 4, and a vertical translation of -7 units. And then it gives us g of x, kind of the naked version, okay? On the AP exam, you do not get any kind of formula chart or reference materials. You really don't need them, but they are very good about when they want you to write an equation or use stuff, they give you kind of the skeleton of it. But I want you to look at this. So I told you when we started transformations and we used A and B and H and K. And I said that's different from the way I used to teach it, but it's what College Board says, hey, here's how you teach transformations. Then they give you this, and they don't use H and K, they use C. And where they put C, I would have put D, but does the letter itself actually matter? No, it's where it is and what's happening with it. So when it asks us to find A, B, and C, we know where to pull them out of the equation. But up here, what we're going to do is backwards of what we've been doing, which is we're going to write an equation instead of taking the equation and saying what our transformations are. So this is g of x. All right, so g of x is equal to, all right, so the first thing it says is a horizontal dilation by a 3. Does that affect x or y? X, good. And x is a what? Liar. Dilation means I multiply by 3? No, 1/3. Okay, so I'm going to take care of this part. By horizontal dilation by a factor of 3 means I'm going to have a 1/3 and multiply it by x, right? Because that's what makes it a horizontal dilation. So when I look at my little skeleton equation over there, this 1/3 would be the b, so there's this, and then this would be f of that. Make sure you're using the correct letters. Then the next thing is a vertical dilation by a factor of 4. Does that affect x or y? Y. Where does the 4 go? In front, okay? So it'll be 4 times that, right? And then a vertical translation by -7, which means we do -7, right? So again, just basically going backwards and making sure that we can write it correctly. Everybody good on that? Then to actually answer the question, they're asking me for A, B, and C. A is 4, B is 1/3, and C is a -7. And you got to pay attention to the fact that that is -7. This is plus C. That's why I put the -7. So always make sure that your signs make sense from what they gave you. Okay? What questions you got? Ask me a question. You don't have a question? Okay. I don't believe you, but okay. You're a liar, just like X. All right. All right, so the table above gives the values for function h. So this is function h. This is k that we're going to write, where a, b, and c are positive constants in the xy plane. Okay, so this statement right here, don't let that throw you off. In the xy plane, it's the x and y coordinate system you've been using forever. The Cartesian coordinate system, the coordinate plane, it's all the same thing. It's not like a new thing that we're throwing at you. All right, so the graph of k is constructed by applying 3 transformations: horizontal dilation by a factor of 1/2, vertical dilation by a factor of 3, and a vertical translation by 1 unit. So I want you to take a moment and write an equation for k of x. So double check yourself with me, see if we agree. I got 3 times h of 2x plus 1. Are we all good on that? Okay, so if we agree on that, then I want you to find what it actually asks you for is k of negative 6. So find k of negative 6. I got 4, right? Now, you know that half of the AP exam is non-calculator, but every table question that I've seen in AP Pre-Calculus and in AP Calculus, the numbers don't get bad. They stay pretty simple, so it's not that big of a deal. That's not why, you know, they're not testing if you can add and subtract. I mean, you may have to do some fraction stuff and some other things without a calculator, but like this, you wouldn't need it anyway at all. Well, I hope anyway. All right, any questions on that one? We good? All right. So last one, the function p is given by this equation, and the graph of r is the image of the graph of p after a horizontal translation of 4 to the graph of p. And here's r. Okay, so those are both equations of lines. That's really kind of irrelevant. We're still just going to treat this as we do for any transformation. So if I have a horizontal translation of 4, does that affect x or y? X. And if it's a translation of 4, which direction am I going? To the right, yes? So in the equation, I actually write x what? Minus 4. Okay, so I'm going to have r of x, and that's equal to, and I'm transforming this one, so 3 times x minus 4, and then a minus 2. Do you think I wrote everything correctly here? Or am I missing something? What am I missing? Parentheses, good. The x minus 4, that has to be blocked off together. All right. Now, when y'all make mistakes or get something wrong, I can usually look through your work and go, okay, well, here's what happened. You forgot this negative, or you didn't do this, or whatever. But there's some times that I don't always know how to help you. And one of those is when you don't distribute like you should. Like, I mean, we're having this conversation because it happens a lot. And so some of you do this, some of you don't, and you need to. But I also see people do that and still not distribute to both. That's when I don't know how to help you. That's on you, man. If you're going to draw the arrows and still not do it, I really don't know how to help you. But so this becomes 3x minus 12 minus 2. So r of x is equal to 3x minus 14. Make sure you're distributing correctly. I know you know how to do it, but again, that's something that gets messed up like a lot. And then it's actually asking me for the values of a and b. So a is 3. The original equation they gave me says plus b. And so since this is minus 14, b would be a negative 14. Okay? What questions you got? We good? Awesome. All right, so I'm going to give you your second assignment here.